Testing 1, 2.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here this evening. There is no public comment today, so we will get the curriculum committee meeting underway. At this point, I will turn it over to curriculum updates.
Great, thank you. Perfect.
Check myself.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone okay with sound here?
I don't think it's on.
It's not on?
Is it? I mean, I can
Well, I
hear
don't
you.
think it projects in
It
here.
doesn't project.
As long as they can hear it, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can hear me. Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the October Teaching and Learning Update. My name is Jennifer Bloom, and I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning here at Penridge School District. I have quite a few items to update tonight for the public who is listening and for those of you who are attending this evening in the audience. Just so that you are aware, we did have an update to our presentation about 4:30-ish. I did put it out as an update, so we just added a few more pieces of information this evening, so you'll have additional information to take a look at as we go through. I do have more slides. Is there another trick besides pushing down? Pretty much willing to do anything. Not at all awkward. All right. So the first thing I just want to take a quick moment to review with our curriculum committee this evening. As I told you the last time that we joined together, I am working with the curriculum supervisors, as well as I will be bringing this to the principals or administrators for all of our crossover meetings to continue to look through the draft curriculum renewal process. I'm sorry. Am I supposed to? I'll just hang on a second. Oh, sure, I'm happy to choose whomever. I just don't have your. I'll look to the left. This is about the time I changed in improv classes in my career. I created improv for you in some way. Thanks, everybody. Sorry if you were with us at home. We had a moment of technical difficulty, but we are back. Just getting a chance to, again, look through the curriculum review cycle. This is something that I am going to continue to be working on with the administrators. We've gone through this at the last curriculum meeting. We have not made any other updates or changes at this point, except to make sure that we include it looking at all inclusivity for the career, the college work standards as well that we will put into this as we continue to look through the review cycle. And then we will look at the sample review cycle in the weeks and months to come to eventually bring the board the actual curricular areas that will fall into these 5 steps. So that is just an update of where we were. The other thing I want. It's okay, I'll just go back and grab the other one. Is there a way that I can make this view so it goes? If you want to get me a different clicker, I can do that as well. Thank Thank you. As I talked to you about in the last curriculum committee meeting, we have always had here at Penridge something called a program improvement proposal. And the program improvement proposal has always encompassed proposals, revisions, and renewals. What I've included here for you to take a look at, and of course for the community as well, is simply breaking those things into 3 different procedures that we'll have here for everyone. It just keeps things a little bit cleaner. It keeps things a little bit more specific with what we come to the board for requests for. So I'll give you an example. I'll just open up the one here. I'm gonna really cross my fingers that it opens. Yes. Success. So this is what I just wanted to kind of go through. This would be something that a proposal would look like for those at home and for those here. All it does is break apart what we used to use and include some additional information, like if we have a pilot that's going to be used. I will break that out for everyone to be able to see the cost, to see the feedback that will come along with that. I also made sure at this point to include the technology department in here as well. Quite often when you're looking at curriculum proposals, renewals, or revisions, it will come with a digital component in 2025. And we want to make sure that we're taking fiscal responsibility to look at those digital components and make sure that we understand what they mean, what kind of renewal will come with them in subsequent years that has a cost attached to it, as well as making sure that we don't stretch our technology department too thin. We want to make sure that we have everything that we need to support the applications that would come with any program. So I've included that in all of these proposals as well. I think another important piece that you'll see at the bottom here is making sure that everyone that needs to be aware of these things in Penridge is aware, meaning that we aren't going to bring forward a proposal that a principal isn't aware of, that the director of technology isn't aware of, that one of our supervisors isn't aware of, or me, with the ultimate responsibility coming back to our assistant and superintendent, as well as the board to make final decisions. But I just wanted to give you an idea as to what we're working on. Again, just breaking them out a little bit so you have the opportunity to go back through and see what we had been working on. Mr. Thomas, do you want to at least tell me what I can do here to make it go back to presentation mode?
It would be back on the bottom right hand side. So, and just go to the screen. Right.
Great. Hoping that this will at some point really stick with me here tonight. The next part of our presentation this evening is for our kindergarten through 5th grade science. Ms. Christine Tamburino is here this evening with us. Last year, Christine, under the direction of Dr. Scheid and the committee that came together for science, had gone through a pretty robust opportunity to look at different science programs to make sure that the Penridge School District is aligned to the STEEL standards and is able to adequately prepare our students for not only phenomenological based studies, which is part of the STEEL standards, but also to be ready to take those PSSA tests in 5th grade as well as their Keystone Biology tests in 10th grade. So she has a bit of an update tonight that she is going to present. So Christine, I'm going to hope that this button works. If not, I recommend that button.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me back tonight. I'm really excited to be here to give an update on our curriculum proposal for K-5 science. As I mentioned last time and at the end of last year, we have been looking at curriculum resources for kindergarten through 5th grade to strengthen our elementary science program. The standards changed over in 2022, and since then we've been working as a district to identify some high quality resources for our students. The fully aligned PSSA in science for grades 5, 8, and in the spring, our biology exam are expected for this spring testing window. The Elementary Science Curriculum Committee last year identified 2 programs as high quality resources at the conclusion of the 2024-2025 school year, and that those resources were Twig Science K-5 and FOSS Pathways K-5. It is my recommendation as we move forward to continue to pursue FOSS Pathways K-5 as our curriculum resource. Last time I was here, we talked a bit about pursuing a pilot for both programs during the course of this school year. After a lot of back and forth with companies and continuing investigation with the committee, it appears that FOSS Pathways is more in line with the needs of Penridge School District. It does provide comprehensive support for teacher onboarding and ongoing professional development that is very robust as compared to Twig Science. This also provides high quality resources at a more sustainable price point for long-term adoption. So in my next proposal, I'm going to bring all of the numbers, all of the research and the data points that we have right now so that I can give you our full proposal, which Dr. Bloom showed in terms of the layout for how that information will be presented. And I believe that that information will be presented in our November meeting.
I have one question.
Oh, for sure.
So you said the testing begins in 2026 for,
First this year, the spring 2026.
how are kids prepared for that?
Right now, I'm working with the teachers closely with our Steels Aligned resources. We do have access to Mystery Science resources, which is a digital resource that we have been utilizing as a district. And we are working to make sure that our students are getting those aligned curriculum for this school year.
For the following year, we'll be using the new program is,
It is my proposal that we have a new program for next year.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We do have a second proposal that we want to talk about this evening, and it's more of a curriculum renewal. And this presentation will, Meg Burke will be joining me, our supervisor at RELA. So Meg, if you want to come on up. Thank you. This proposal tonight will be a little bit more robust as it will continue to include all of the numbers that are associated with our recommended renewal process. And we're going to talk about that through the slides that we have coming up. So right now, Penridge School District has what's called Making Meaning, which is a part of a program that is being used K through 5 right now. Making Meaning will be discontinued for the 26-27 school year. That piece of the program is actually being absorbed into now the new edition of what's called Being a Reader, which will fully integrate the comprehension components of Making Meaning, as well as add in additional components for a more robust program. We were not aware until this summer, after I had already joined the team, that Making Meaning was going to be discontinued. So this is a little bit of a surprise for us coming into it. But with Meg and the team, we've really been able to make some decent strides in figuring out the best way forward with coming up with Being a Reader as we think an excellent option to be able to continue to make data-informed decisions. And we'll go through that with you tonight. So Meg, I'm going to turn it over for just a moment and I'll step back in.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for having me. Can you hear me okay? I feel like, okay, great. So one of the things we started to look at is where are the greatest needs and the greatest gaps, particularly when we're looking at K-5. And we took a look at data and we targeted some specific grade level and weakest eligible content standards. And I have them listed up here. Specifically in grade 3, we noticed a trend in proficiency declining from 70% to 61, grade 4 from 68% to 58%, and grade 5 from 71 to 51%. And the common anchors that we saw were the key ideas and details, eligible content standard, craft and structure, vocabulary, and conventions. And these anchors are actually the core of reading comprehension. So if you think of the things happening in K2, which we'll talk about in just a minute, we're actually teaching kids to read. And in 3 to 5, that's when we're really teaching kids to read to learn and to build these independent readers, writers, and thinkers. And so when I took a look at this program, I also wanted to take a look at what was happening, not only here, but also in comparison across the state and the Commonwealth over 5 years' time. And so some of the things we started to look at in this particular slide were some of the things that Linkit data sources were sharing with us about literacy. And I didn't know if Dr. Barrios wanted to jump in and talk to this slide or if you wanted me to kick it off.
The last time I checked with Lincoln, I think they have over 150 schools in the Commonwealth that they serve. 97% of those schools saw a dip in their RELA scores. And I think another contributing factor that we saw here at Penridge is we moved to an online version last year. So our younger learners were taking the BSSA RELA exam on the computer for the first time. This year it's mandated. So I would hope that this year we see a deficit here. We definitely have some actionable plans And this is not to make an excuse, we're going to take this head on, but this was not just something where our teachers stopped teaching and everyone took a dip here. And it's in our elementary school. So our team's done a nice job to really drill down the anchors and areas of need right here. But there was an online version that we opted to get our kids acclimated to take this. We also have some cohort data that we can definitely share, but I just wanted to go over that Linkit data piece. That metric I think is important, knowing that 97% of the districts served by Linkit saw a decrease.
So what was making that it's got to be taken?
This year, for 2026, all the students have to take their exams on a computer. No more paper and pencil.
Yeah, you used to have the option, but you won't have the option anymore.
Yeah, that's-
So Cambridge actually took advantage of that last year to be one of the early adopters to go online, which is a great thing. They got that opportunity to take that, to jump in early, but they were part of that 97% who jumped in a little bit early and then saw the decrease because of the fact that our youngest learners now need to learn how to take and read online and use their strategies online, and there's online tools that go with it. And we'll be attacking that this year through our department, working with principals and making sure teachers have all those online tool testing so that they have preparation for to take those tests online.
I have a question. So this is the PSSAs, it was grade 3 last year, the decline.
Yes.
When the teachers, let's just take, for example, grade 3, when they're doing their own evaluation, how are we looking? How are the kids doing? Like, how are we seeing all the grades 3? How are they doing with their classwork, with their tests in relation to the scores of the PSSAs? I would hope that they would be a lot better than this. Do we have that?
We do have some information for you this evening on Dibbles. So Mr. Wers had actually asked to see some of the Dibbles data at the end of last year at the June. We hold that information because that assessment was closed. So we will share a little bit about that today. We'll also come back to you next month with our full data presentation to be able to give you continued updated scores. We're just waiting to get the rest of the assessment benchmarks done. But I
We'll go to that slide there.
Sure.
So let's break that down. So we take a look at grade 3, where 70%, we saw a dip from 70 to 60. So that's 7 out of every 10 kids. We see a dip going from basically 6 out of every 10 kids. So if we have an increase in the number of English language learner students, if there's a spike in special education students, remember, English language learners, they're only allowed to be in the country for 1 year, then they're on the hook to take exams. So I don't want us to have the mentality that the sky is falling because of this dip right here. It's one day, it's one test. It's important, but it's one day and one test. And if you have a child who may have a learning disability, getting situated on a computer, even if we implement accommodations like extended time, here you have to do your best. It can be challenging for a third grader to sit there on a computer and be assessed for reading comprehension and things of that nature. So we are certainly not running away from this problem, nor do we want to admire this problem. We're going to take this head on. But you heard me say this ad nauseum. We need aligned systems, to your point, Ms. Sharino, to ensure that are we taking a look at the whole child? How are they doing on their grades and their other assessments in the class? So I don't want our kids to ever be defined by one assessment in third grade and we're running away that nobody knows how to read. I don't think that's necessarily fair. And when we think about the integration of structured literacy that is now tested, so we will have to be, improvise and help our kids better prepare for these assessments.
Right, no, I agree, and that's why I was asking, because overall, my understanding is with every child, we're able to see how they're doing in RELA and math. And I think that's what's important, how they're doing, not necessarily just one test, which is great if we were to see that, because you're right. People may see this and say, wait a minute, but it is one test, one day. And maybe not all the students are even reflected here. They weren't there for the PSSA. So I do think it's important for us to look at that and see how they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that you'll definitely get to see more of that when you get to see the data presentation we're putting together for next month, because you're going to get to see their amazing SAT scores, how they're doing with AP. This is, like you said, one day, one snapshot. The Dibbles data that we're about to show you, you're going to see the growth that they're making. You're going to see that more kids are not in the intensive and the strategic programs anymore. They're in that core. They're at tier 1. So we'll continue to share that with you tonight as well.
And also with the English language learners,
Yes.
will we be able to see how they're doing, not just to be bunched in with you'll be able to show us?
We can disaggregate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Just, I have a question too. Did I just turn my mic off or on?
Should be green.
Right. So I know you talked about like a lot of schools went down. Other than it switching to digital, was that the only change? Like I understand the English language learners, but that's been in place for a bit. Like we had that last year also, right? So the most significant difference in the testing is that more kids were doing it.
I can
Like
speak to that a
digital.
little bit as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, having only been here for a few months, I want to preface this by saying that this is what I have seen in my time here. And online testing, I think we can say that there's probably something there. Percentage-wise, I'm not exactly sure what it is. We also have to remember that Pennsylvania just moved to structured literacy standards in the last couple of years. Before that, we were a balanced literacy commonwealth, meaning that we were looking at literacy and teaching literacy through what we call balanced literacy. A lot of times that removed direct explicit instruction from some of those foundational skills like phonemic awareness, phonics instruction. Penn Ridge actually took the jump to move into that with bringing foundations on board. I think you're in your 3rd year of implementation. So the structured literacy components on the PSSA are also now showing up, and not all of our students have had direct systematic phonemic awareness and phonics instruction. Your first cohort that you're going to see that with, am I correct? Is this current, yes, this current 3rd grade class will be your first grade that had 3 years of foundations curriculum that should help them to prepare for some of that structured literacy, early foundational skills to be more prepared. What we're proposing tonight as well is to make sure that we don't, and ignore is not the right word, but that we put just as much emphasis on grades 3 through 5. We have spent a lot of time and a lot of resources making sure that we got everybody catered to what they need so that they can be readers. That's fantastic. Now we need to look at grades 3 to 5 to make sure that when they're reading, they can comprehend analytically, they can close read, they can have both inferential thinking and right there thinking, all of those types of things. And what we think was missing a bit in making meaning, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the company agrees since they did this whole revision to bring us being a reader, is some of those skills, especially those weak anchors, ideas and details, vocabulary, conventions, craft and structure, that wasn't really a focus in making meaning. The new program that we're proposing to bring in, being a reader, does have more of that focus there. And we want to make sure that that's not just a program solution. So we do not want to just say, we're going to buy this program, we're going to give it to some teachers and bam, scores are going to go up. We are also very committed to making sure the intentional professional development that goes along with that. So teachers understand what it is that we're asking of students, so that we're aligned in our eligible content, so that we're making sure that we're addressing the types of things that are actually going to be seen on the test is going to be an important component as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Meg, do you want to talk a little bit about some of those curiosities?
So I know we were looking at data and some of the root causes or curiosities I even had when I was looking at the data and looking at the programming here. And so what I pulled from Linkit was just a 5-year PSSA district data that shows a decline and the root cause of those declines that isn't just because of a program or just because of a test. And what I saw in the data is it suggests that there were some instructional inconsistencies. And that could be because of the student population changing in our classrooms. I know we asked about some of those trends and the things we're seeing, and it's not just about the test, but it's also about the students in front of us that have changed over time. And then broader student needs, when we talk about our multilingual learners, especially needing more language support. And then that misalignment to the PA core standards. We haven't really looked at a renewal for a reading program in grades 3 to 5 since 2017. Right? And so this new program is actually aligning more to what is on the PA core standards. The other piece we looked at are where were the greatest drops when it comes to reading comprehension. And you're going to hear me talk about those key ideas and details, vocabulary acquisition and use, and conventions. And Pennsylvania's eligible content underneath those umbrellas of key ideas includes literary and informational texts as well. And so this being a reader directly addresses these anchors as well as scaffolds to help differentiate and enrich reading programming for students in our classrooms. So why explore being a reader in its second edition? Well, K2 has shown us, and these are the DIBEL scores that we had discussed earlier. K2 continues with foundations. The data is showing us in this longitudinal data from the fall that it's working. The being a writer and word study can remain in place. And we're going to continue to strengthen foundational skills and enrichment opportunities for all of our students. This current DIBELS, which is the dynamic indicator of basic early literacy skills for the fall currently with that third grade cohort, currently shows that 69.4% of students fall into core support plus, or minimal risk, which means all of these students, that 69.4% in this one snapshot, is showing us that kids are projected to be reading at or above grade level already in the fall. And so this tells us that what is happening in K2 beyond just a program within instruction is working in our classrooms.
Excuse me, how does that tell you that? Or what was it last year?
Yep.
Or what?
So last year's, when we looked at this last year, remember this third grade group that I keep referring to? Even in my first presentation, I wanted that group of students that had consistent foundations all 3 years. And I used that cohort data, the STAR data, the last time I had presented. And so what DIBELS does is we give this to students in the fall, in the winter, and in the spring. And it's a quick snapshot, almost like to progress and monitor where students are around their foundational skills. And what teachers use this data for is to create small group instruction within their classrooms. So if I were to look at this kind of as a macro view across the district, I could see now where I would need to differentiate or strengthen programming in some of our classrooms. As a teacher, what I love about this, though, is it shows me in real time where I need to progress monitor and give more supports.
I understand how that works, but how is it better than it was? I mean, is it better than it was last year, or was it? I know that 69.4% seems good, but what was it? 50% last year?
Right. And I think I looked at the STAR data more closely than I have the DIBELS, again, coming into this and seeing it. And when I met with our reading specialists earlier this year, I asked that same question. What was happening in our classrooms at this time last year? They said that this program was putting students more on track to be reading at grade level by the end of this year. But I think during that November meeting, I'm sure we can pull some of that data to compare it to the fall from last year.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's reliable data from before, it
Yeah, one thing I want to add to that, Mr. Wars, is that the third grade group is the only group we have so far that has had 3 years of foundations.
understood,
So I can't get data to show, like our fourth graders wouldn't have had 3 years.
right? But then they should be doing, the third graders this year should have been doing better
Correct.
than.
And that's what
was.
we'll bring for you for
Okay,
next year.
that's
Yep,
what
exactly
we
right.
need to see
Yeah.
to say that.
And the STAR data does that too. It kind of overlays and
That's
tells
fine.
the same
Yeah,
story. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. What do we mean with core support?
So core support means that the students have very little risk of reading below grade level at this point in time. So it shows us that the support they need right now is almost enrichment. So they're not on track to be reading below grade level, and core support minimal risk is very similar in that way as well. And it does it by percentages in the core structures of language. So it looks at phonemic awareness, spelling, and core support is where we really want to see almost all of our students. The strategic support too is where we really have to differentiate because these students are almost being targeted to fall behind if we don't put things in place right now to get them to be reading on grade level. And that intensive support is even that additional layer as well.
So
Sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know it's a different grade, but we're still looking at a 70%-ish number, right? So this is second grade. I'm interpreting it as 70% proficient. And the slide before I know was PSSA third grade, but we were still at that 70%-ish number.
We're at 70% in the fall. for this one. So that's the big difference here. So these are third graders and where they're projected to be right now in the fall. Core support is also about what's happening in the classroom. It's another word for tier one, meaning that 70% of our students don't need anything else in order to make progress over the year's worth of growth except what we are doing in the classroom, our core programs, best instructional practices. If you are falling in strategic or intensive, we are asking you to make more than a year's worth of growth in a year, meaning that you also need our core support, all the things we typically do, plus you will probably also need some type of small group differentiated instruction. You may be seeing a reading specialist, you may be seeing a teacher at a back table. So the fact that we have 70% of our students in the fall, and we finished these tests up about 2 weeks ago, that are in core, that's really good. What we typically look for in a multi-tiered system of support model is 80% of our students falling in core. So we're hoping to pick up that next 10%, not only throughout this year, but also with the implementation of a more robust program that will help to address the needs that our current program does not have.
So why would this program be successful? Well, Being a Reader, the second edition, integrates foundational skills, reading comprehension strategies, text complexity, and rich literacy experiences with explicit instructional strategies that are aligned to PA core standards and eligible content. And it also addresses, again, those anchors that we had discussed. It focuses on language comprehension and switches from learning to read to reading to learn. And it provides scaffolds and supports for multilingual learners and strong interventions and enrichment opportunities for all students. It also aligns to our district professional learning goals with curriculum and instruction and really finding that alignment and that common academic language that really enters in grade 3. And I know we've been talking a lot about the K2. In grades 3 to 8, that is where we see the most text complexity that students are asked to read independently and on their own on that state test. That's the first time students are asked to navigate a text, apply close reading strategies, read, write, and think about the text completely on their own. And so this 3 to 8 transition is really starting to do that vertical alignment and vertical articulation that we want to see in our classrooms through instructional practice. The programs that we currently have now weren't necessarily that aligned to do these specific things as found in those eligible content standards.
Did you look at any other programs since we're making a change? I mean, the only reason we're making this change is because they're discontinuing it.
That
What
was
other
a,
options are there that usually we do a group and get together?
right.
Sure, you can take it. Yes. So here's how I understand it, Mr. Wers. You're right. So usually a lot of times they'll bring together a committee and they will do pilots and things of that nature. So one of the reasons we decided to go with a renewal and simply take on the more robust Being a Reader rather than go through that entire cycle is because we know, first of all, the expense of going through an entire pilot and to bring multiple different potential vendors in. Not only could be expensive, but could be very time consuming. So that could put us out another full year before we have a program that we think will match the needs of the Penridge students. And we didn't want to have our Penridge students not have an aligned program for another year because we don't think we'll be able to move the needle then on our assessments and our test scores. When we take a look around and look at Being a Writer and Being a Reader, they are combined programs that are meeting the PA core right now, as well as the standards we're looking for. So it was our decision to look for a renewal rather than to go through a full pilot program. If the board wishes for us to go through down that route, we happily could. But just so you know, it would take a little bit of a
No,
longer
I understand
process.
how it works. When we switch to this, are we on the hook for 5 years or?
No.
So if we want to, if your renewal program comes up in 3 years, you can take a look.
Yes, it's 1 year.
That's-
Yep,
That's fine.
it's 1 year.
It's 1 year, okay. And it's
Yeah.
not a,
Yes, it's a 1 year. Our professional development, really strengthening the instructional practices in our classroom. If this should be approved, this is our draft launch and orientation. And really starting on November 4th to do district professional learning introduction and kickoff, specifically for grades 3 to 5. Then again in January, either the 23rd or the 28th, really working closely with our grade level meetings and a virtual pre-launch with Being a Reader. Again, on March 13th, we really start to do a deep dive. Instead of going wider with all of these resources, we want to go deeper looking at the curriculum writing and scope and sequence of the programs and continue that work on March 18th. And then by May 19th, really getting started with being a reader and how it would look in the classrooms. We continue that with spring with a pre-launch and a leadership planning. And there's a lot of self-guided prep for the teachers to really start to use that data in their classroom to really start to differentiate the ways they want to approach this in their classrooms. In the fall and winter, again, we're sticking with those virtual pathways. There's some small group reading instruction, planning, and book clubs. The implementation check-ins are 1 hour each, and it's really to check to see that if the teachers are really using the program and it's working with data continually. And again, our teacher leaders providing coaching. We have an amazing instructional coaching team using that train-the-trainer model. And in this model that I'm proposing, it saves us $8,000 versus in-person PD. So that's why you'll see this combination of train-the-trainer models, self-paced, and virtual. We've been using collaborative classrooms since 2017, and so many parts of the program are working. And I know we didn't talk about this one piece, but one of the things students are asked to do for the first time in grades 3 to 8 is to respond to a text in an analytical way called text-dependent analysis, which is one of the most complex things we can ask kids to do that early. Here in our district, we have consistently done really well around that standard, and I know we'll have more of that conversation in November. And that's that integration of knowledge and ideas and that critical thinking. In grades 3 to 5, this new program embeds that into their core instruction, which Jen had mentioned is really that tier 1 support. The curriculum renewal, the estimated cost, linked into this is a PDF that breaks down the entire renewal process. And so you can refer to this in that PDF. And I broke it down by grade level. You'll see the professional development. The shipping is at no cost, and it's about $102 per student. We will also have access to all of the online components, including the assessment tools. And we'll have access to those for 7 years upon renewal, which is a long time. So every time it's upgraded, we will have access to those online pieces and those tools. I did a cost comparison. And so previously we were using Collaborative Classroom and Words Their Way for a total of $488,000, just about. And my proposed 1-year renewal is $145,000. For that 1-year implementation.
What was 488? How many years is that?
That was from 2017 until now, because the first big purchase we did in 2017 were for teacher kits. So that's the heaviest weight of any program when you're purchasing all the teacher kits. From that point on, we were ordering consumables for the students, which are the workbooks. And we've consistently been doing that just about since 2017.
So this is for a year proposal, right? So we're looking at what, 26, 27?
Yep.
So let's say we're in 26, 27, we paid $145,000.
Mhm.
And the teachers were like, this isn't for me.
Right.
So we're looking then for something else, right? And then what happens, then we just kind of, because then there's that year that you need to look at other resources. So in that second year that we're looking for those resources, what happens there? We're paying. What are we paying?
145.
Another 100.
Per year?
So nope. The
That's what I'm saying.
following year, we just buy consumables, and they're just around
Okay.
21,000 to 31,000 for that. So the heaviest lift are the teacher kits, and I love that question because I asked that too. What does this look like in instruction? What does it come with? What do teachers already have? These classroom kits, teachers before were using 3 different almost kits you can think about to instruct. This is including everything in one. And so those teacher kits come with different books that they can use as a whole group read aloud, and then small groups to really build that independent reading. They get to keep all those trade books that come with it. They don't go away. And they also have student consumables, which is where the students do the close reading of text, especially complex text. And that's where they do the annotating, the close reading, the word study, and the writing pieces as well. And those consumables, they just told me today, right before I came, that would also be able to be renewed over those 7 years. So they're not getting rid of them, which we see some companies do that and go completely online.
So even though we're doing the renewal for a year, do you guys see it actually using it longer? Is it something that you see that we're really going to, our students are going to excel in this?
I think, and I just want to go back to a slide where I was showing you some of some of the eligible content data. And one of the things I think that our teachers do really well are instructional shifts. On Friday, and this answers that question, do I think it's a good investment? Is it my recommendation? On Friday, I had teachers in grades 3 to 8 start to look at these exact eligible content standards and how they looked in questions that our students would be up against across 3 to 8. And then they actually did an activity using a strategy I call Say, Mean, Matter, looking at what the text says, what it means, which is an inference, and then drawing a conclusion to a matter. You can use that strategy across any text, right? And so the teachers, instead of going wider and trying to pull in all these programs, they were really invested in this one strategy to dig deeper. And that's what this program allows us to do. It doesn't come with all the pieces and parts. It really allows us to build a strong scope and sequence aligned to this eligible content that really meets the needs of the students in our classroom. It also really grows them to be independent readers, writers, and thinkers. A lot of the other programs that I've experienced in elementary, middle, and high school, they come with a lot of short stories, a lot of excerpts, and then we'll have novel studies. This entire program, Being a Reader, really grounds itself in building those independent reading strategies that kids start to use on their own. And I really believe that if we focus in on this and we really align it to go deeper instead of wider, we will see an impact in those standards.
Sure.
So we're basically, it's 145,000. And then just the consumables. So our risk is if it's bad, we lose the 145 and start over.
But I think the 7 years of online and that part of it, it really is a pretty inexpensive option. Even though
I just
145,000.
want to know like, if there's a better option out there. Somebody brings it up, but it's not huge over there. The last one was very expensive.
Right.
And I think more than anything, it comes down to the fidelity of implementation and the amount of professional development that you're doing around it. I think that's whatever program there is, that's going to be the key.
Yeah, along those points too, like I understand programs need some time to start seeing the impact. I know you're all deeply invested in making sure our students can read as everyone on the board. But along those lines, if there are things as we're switching programs or trying new things that can help with professional development, help in the classrooms kind of get over the hump per se, please let us know. Because I think this is really important to everyone. And the slide was explainable, but I think we need to make sure we're quickly correcting that. So if we need to boost some things, I'd be definitely open to that conversation. Yeah.
One other question.
No,
No, did you?
I was gonna say, I think that that's a really good point. Because if we did nothing, right, if we went with making meaning, or we know it's gonna expire and we kind of just kept what we had, that would be a year where we're not aligned. So to Mr. Wurz's point, it is, there's still a financial risk with it, right? It would be it'd be disingenuous to say there isn't. But we know it's a program that's aligned to the need. We know it targets the things that our students are weak in with anchors. We know that we have the professional prowess to go in there and to be able to work with teachers to really dig into what it is that we need to do to start to see our scores rise. The biggest thing we have to remember that with any program, we are smarter than page 37 of the book. You can open up any book, any program. We as the teachers, we own that craft. We are smarter than page 37. So it's up to us to dig into what it is that they need to get to for the eligible content to raise the standards and not just rely on the program. And I think Meg explaining that Being a Reader, it's not going to come with 1,000 different bells and whistles. It's going to come with a structure that's aligned to the standards, which are aligned to the assessments that we can dig deeper with, if that helps.
One more question. Is it in the budget for this year?
I'm sorry.
Is it in the budget for this year?
It is not fully in our budget this year, but we talked with Mr. Daubert, and I believe that we are able to make $145,000 work should the board agree to move that forward.
Okay. Is it
I did
coming
not-
from something else, or is it coming from your budget?
It is coming from program improvement in my budget. Is that correct? I believe
Yes.
that's accurate. Yeah, it wasn't in Meg's budget to answer that question. It's going to come from.
Because this was not a known.
No,
at the beginning of the budget.
We have more of an appetite for 145 than if we were to go through the whole program and do a proposal and all that, which would have been closer to $500,000.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Mhm.
We have to find that money.
Yep. That's my job, to go find that money.
And maybe save some money along the line.
Right. And that's why we were purposeful in that. When we looked at professional development options, which are extremely important, we could spend the extra 8,000 and bring everyone here, or we could do some virtual options and dig into the expertise that we have at Penn Ridge to help bring that a little bit more home rather than bring in someone from the outside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So that will be the item that will come to the board meeting in October then for the vote, is to determine whether or not you do want to move forward with that program. Okay, and that will probably be the only votable item that we have from the curriculum committee. But I do have a few other updates this evening. I'd like to take a moment to welcome up Yolanda Yabardi, if you want to come on up. I had the pleasure of meeting with Yolanda on my, was it second day? I believe it was my second day on the job. Yolanda had the chance to come up and talk to me a little bit about dual enrollment and the opportunities we have with the Bucks County Community College. And she shared an amazing opportunity that was afforded to Bucks County Community College from Pennsylvania Department of Education, where they were awarded a $1 million grant that we came and talked a little bit about back in August, where we would be able to directly impact students at Penn Ridge who are enrolling in dual enrollment courses at Bucks County. So I'm going to let Yolanda talk a little bit about that grant, and then I'm going to have Hill come on up in just a moment to talk about how we decided to roll that out to Penn Ridge students.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about this innovative opportunity. So, sorry, and I'm a little short, so I'm going to put this down a little bit. Okay. So the Dual Credit Innovation Grant is a state-funded initiative designed to expand dual enrollment opportunities to students in the state, high school students in the state. Through this grant, Bucks's proposal was paired with letters of support from our legislatures and also all of the district administrators in Bucks County. This is for public school students specifically, so it's an opportunity for us to increase access and equity to dual enrollment credit courses and opportunities both online and on campus. But in order for us to really expand the access and expand the opportunities, we had to partner with our district to say, okay, yes, the students could come to campus. Yes, they can take the courses online, but what other opportunities can we, offer? So our next initiative was to collaborate with the district leaders and faculty to identify courses that were being offered in the high schools that would be able to apply towards high school graduation and college degree requirements. So this was our chance to say, okay, we want you as partners to build upon your current curriculum and offer our course, whatever our outcomes are, our student learning outcomes, our curriculum outcomes, and align those with your, sorry, I'm nervous. I've not been on. Hope you got my good side. Okay. But align them with your curriculum so that students have the opportunity to take one class in high school that could be taught by our Bucks faculty. So some districts do that, or it could be taught by your faculty. But the students are now going to be able to take that and apply it towards their high school graduation requirement, graduate, and then also have a foot in the door at any college. At Bucks County Community College, our whole design is the transient model, right? So I call it the 2 and through. Students come here, they take their 2 years, 3 years, whatever it takes to get their associate's degree. And our partnership then with 4-year institutions enables students to get scholarships and lower tuition costs when they move on. So what we're seeing are, not gonna lie, 8th, 9th, and 10th graders saying, I want to take college courses now to reduce my costs, speed up my chances to, finish my degree, and then also be able to start my track to becoming a nurse, right? But I want to do that while I'm in high school. But I don't necessarily want to do double the work. I want to be able to leverage my this is high quality high school education, right? High quality instruction, and be able to say, yes, my college coursework was done in my high school, taught by my high school faculty member, but I got that high quality college level opportunity and now I'm on my way. So we have 17 schools that we're partnering with, and Penridge is one of our first ones to really dig into the expansion of not only students taking courses at Upper Bucks and online. We have a few students also in Newtown, which is really cool. But we also now we want to expand the courses that I call college and high school. With the grant, we are able to fund a few, or it's a smaller amount of scholarships for students who come on campus. But the big expansion is going to be in the high schools. So the way we budgeted and when we built this program was, okay, how many tuition-free courses can we offer to the schools? Depending on what the schools look like in terms of their tiers, I guess it's more like if they're free and reduced lunch, your economic tiers, we could offer up to 4 a year. So Penridge got 3. Okay, now here's the crux of it. 3 courses at 3 credits for 20 students, right? Each course. So that was kind of like, but we know that there's going to be a lot more students. So we're trying to work together to figure out how best to equally distribute those credits. Do you have questions about the grant specifically?
No, we have discussed this before, so
It's very exciting.
yeah, it's very interesting though.
Is the grant for what, is it a particular year? Is it for
It's 2 years. Yes.
2 years? So it's $1 million for 2 years?
Yep.
Okay. Starting this
You
year?
got it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to introduce one of our assistant principals at the high school. So he can talk to you a little bit about how Penridge has made the decision to use these credits.
So we met as a team in the high school and then of course with district administration to.
This is
discuss
Mr.
this
Zaplicki,
opportunity.
by the way. If anyone doesn't know who Mr. Zaplicki.
Yes, I'm Hillary Zaplicki. I'm the 12th grade health principal at the high school. If we haven't been properly introduced in the past. So we discussed this opportunity and like it said on the last slide, 60 students could get a free course. But right now at the high school, we're looking at about maybe close to 60 students would be taking a Bucks County Community College dual enrollment course anyway, which what we want to capitalize on is the idea of pulling more kids in. So what we decided is to give one free credit per course taken. So in a high school, a student can actually take 2 dual enrollment courses that count on their transcripts. So we were willing to give them each 1 free credit. And from a cost perspective, just so you have a little perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, if I got the wrong numbers, but the normal cost of a credit at Bucks County is $170-ish.
Plus fees.
Plus fees, okay. You say plus fees, I'll say 170. So when you add it up, you're looking at about $510 for a course. We're lucky to get a discount anyway, so that brings it down to about $130 per credit. When you add in the grant, the free credit, you're literally looking at taking a course for half price. Okay, about $260 with fees. Okay. Plus fees. So this is a great opportunity. And what we're doing right now, we're in the process of communicating to the classes that have the dual enrollment, the teachers that are qualified and currently teaching the dual enrollment courses. We were able to add 1 more because we did a little scrub of the Bucks County community course offerings and our course offerings, and 1 additional one that we brought on board is our AP psychology course, which is great. It's another one of those win-wins because when you can take an AP course and get college credit for it at the same time, the student can also benefit from that AP credit in another college by getting additional support from them for having taken that AP course. So that's a win-win all around. So our counselors are in the process of communicating that with teachers in the classrooms to the students. Students do have to complete the application for the community college. And if there's a placement test as part of a course, they do have to pass that test. And once they meet the criteria, they'll be enrolled in Bucks County Community College and billed for the remaining tuition for the course, of course, as they decide. So we're excited about this opportunity. We're also excited moving forward since it is a 2-year. I mean, this was a great blessing for us, but it was very recent. So we're kind of trying to react and respond as best we could to present this opportunity well, but we're very excited moving forward as we look at our program of studies and opportunities for students for the following year and hoping to get many more students involved.
So is anyone able to take advantage of it this year?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, right now, as students are sitting in those classes, they are the ones receiving that information.
And they're getting this.
Hey, by the way, if you sign up for the dual credit, we're gonna give you a discount. It's gonna be a lot
Or-
less money than it would have been before.
This current semester?
Right now.
So they knew this going in, or this is just coming?
They didn't know this going in. We knew it going in. We talked in August, so this was, it's one of those things where you get the opportunity, it comes upon you, you have to react quickly.
Okay,
So
so we're
when
using the money.
We are using the
Okay.
money ASAP.
We have one more year.
Yeah, we did.
I have a question, Sasha. I love this. You guys are right outside our door, and I'm just really happy to hear people collaborating and getting transferable credits, which is a little bit different than the whole AP situation. I'm always thinking about the money aspect of it too, so I appreciate the discount. But even with that, there are families that just don't have money for college, and we were all loans, all of us, my parents. But like, is there a way for kids when they're still in high school to start the loan process, or even if there's a way to cover that $500? I'm not sure how that works while you're still in high school, but
So it would be $240.
Okay,
$260.
sorry, Tuesday plus fees. Yes. Okay. Right.
Fees.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, we talked about the possibility of making it free for kids versus making it,
Mhm.
reduced. Having some buy-in to it, I think also gets buy-in when a kid is participating in a course like that. And, I think that's as cheap a course as I've ever heard of.
No,
for a
it's
college.
definitely
Yeah.
a wonderful opportunity and very affordable. I'm not saying that amazing strides haven't been done, but I'm just thinking of like when you're starting college, when you graduate high school and you're starting college and you're doing a semester of Bucks, you get loans to cover the whole semester. I'm just wasn't sure how this works with like piecemeal. And if a student's doing 2 or 3 a year, that can be a lot of money for some families, even with a discount. So I like this because it is a beautiful opportunity for students to have like affordable college credits. But I just want to make sure we're hitting the families that could probably use this the most and benefiting. So I just wasn't sure how that worked.
So I know the FAFSA process.
Yeah.
The pre-applications, you have to have a high school diploma.
Right.
So we have to wait until then.
Okay.
But we're willing to work with you to see if we can identify additional funding sources, and the grants are out there, right? So I wrote this in January, for February admission. So I would love to be able to partner with you to find other opportunities to support students.
I think that's wonderful. So there are students who need some more help, like a way to just kind of get them.
Are there independent donors at the college that would endow economically disadvantaged students, or?
There are, yes,
Sure.
there are, but I'm not the vice president of advancement. But I know that when it comes to when we do our advancement, when we just did our first day of giving, a lot of times it's looking for the greatest areas of need, right? And at Bucks County Community College, our largest student group are the degree seeking students, right? So then we have to look at where we can spend the investments that those students are being given. But we do also have donors who give to the EITC funds, which are for K-12 educator or K-12 students. So we do have some monies available, but it's not an infinite source. So we would love to partner with districts to be able to absolutely find more.
And maybe that is all it is, just like we can connect the
Yep.
students
Yeah.
with directly you or
Absolutely.
counterpart to, if you're interested in this and you still need
And other
financial help,
foundations.
right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Hi,
our last update tonight just comes on middle school scheduling. So again, at the end of last year, I know there was a robust committee put together with Dr. Scheid and the middle school scheduling committee to strategically move the district towards a block schedule for middle school. And the committee was able to set us up to be in a place where we are now ready to take a look at the planning considerations, including staffing, course offerings, professional development, how this impacts the district fiscally, what resource and space allocations we'll also need to consider. So just to give you an idea, all of those things that I just mentioned, from staffing to fiscal consideration, spacing, curriculum, and what we need to look at for resources, we're going to spend the 25-26 school year figuring out exactly what the asks will be of the board, if any, to take a look at moving forward with block scheduling. Once we have those findings and recommendations, we'll bring them to the board at the conclusion or towards the end of this school year, so you have an idea as to what it will take to be able to move forward with the block schedule. Next year, then, during the 26-27 school year, should the board continue to support this, then we will look at rewriting courses for course realignment so that we are sure that we are hitting what we need to hit in a block schedule, since that will be different, as well as provide our middle school teachers professional development for what it means to teach in a middle school block schedule, with then a launch of block scheduling happening in the 27 and 28 school year. So we just wanted to make sure that you had that information so you have an idea as to what is going on there. But again, this is the year that we'll have to take a look to see to what extent moving to a block schedule will be feasible both fiscally and with the space and the courses that we need to cover. So I just wanted to provide a quick update on that. There are no obsolete books this month, so if there are any other questions, I'm happy to take them. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
In that case, our next curriculum committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 3rd of 2025.
I am student, student services. First up will be Mr. Johnson, social work presentation.
Yep.
Welcome back, everybody. We are in the committee meeting for student services. We have no public comment, and we're going to be starting right along with the social workers presentation with Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for that introduction. I'm here to introduce our 3 school social workers at Penridge. We have Ms. Alicia Landgraf, Ms. Dawn Hoops, and Mr. Joe Warner. Tonight, you're going to hear a comprehensive overview of the work of the school social worker within Penridge School District. I will conclude the presentation actually by going through some of the challenges that we discussed among the social workers for their work within this community, as well as how we look forward to a path forward within the school district within their work. So without further ado, I think Ms. Landgraf is going to say something. Oh. The clicker will work.
I'd like to start off with the mission of the social workers. Our primary focus is student and school well-being, not technology. And the role of a school social worker is to support students' mental, social, and emotional well-being by providing direct and indirect services to our students, their families, and the school community to help them thrive.
So the nice thing about being a social worker, and especially a social worker, is we have these 3 domains, right? Our job is to bring in what's happening at home. Obviously, we're in the school, so we know what's going on with the student behaviorally and academically in schools. And then our third job is to find the community resources to help the students. As social workers. Okay. As school social workers, we use an ecological and systems approach. So we again take a look at the student from all directions, what their economic situation is, what their family dynamic is, the community culture, medical issues, and actually the larger societal issues that are coming into play. And all of those things, how are they influencing the student's well-being? We're also trained to start where a person is at. Sometimes that's a little askew from the educational aspect, and it takes us a little bit of time, right? Because if we're starting with where a child is at, we have to build a relationship, and we have to begin without being judgmental. But if we're able to do that and bridge the gap between our school team, we can make the best interventions, right, to serve their mental health. As certified school social workers, we're also all required to have a license in social work, which means that we're required every 2-year cycle to get over 30 credits in professional development, and especially in 3 areas, which is suicide prevention, assessment, and postvention, mandatory reporting, and ethics. And so with our clinical perspective, that's the other thing that we add to kind of the school community, is we have this clinical aspect that can help teachers, administrators, parents also understand what is at play and affecting the students' availability for learning. And that's our whole job.
We have 4 primary focus areas of school social work. We have the school climate, we have the social emotional aspect, we have mental health and well-being, as well as academic.
So the 4 primary areas of focus that we look at, the academics, fostering attendance. Obviously, we want them here. They're here. They can get the support, creating academic opportunities and decreasing the barriers. Obviously, looking at some of them, the attendance plans, trying to help them get here, morning assists, some breaks, community assistant, and collaborating with our local district court to make sure that they're following our school attendance laws. We also have other students that have other struggles, which we're going to talk about, McKinney Vento, homeless students, and foster care students. School climate, obviously, is a big thing. We want to make sure that we're promoting school climate where students feel seen, are welcome, safe, and supported. Social emotional, promoting culturally responsive, and evidence-based social and emotional practices and interventions, providing support, providing opportunities and engagement with students and their families, and then resources to families. As Alicia had talked about, what we're doing is really connecting with families. And mental health, a big thing, implementing trauma-informed healing center engagement, mental health support, providing meaningful resources to students and their families while engaging the community mental health systems. So a lot of that is integrating with our systems in the community to help our families.
Obviously, one of our main goals is to the support that we provide to our students. And like Joe talked about, attendance is a big piece of that. One of the things that we do is a student attendance improvement plan. Another thing that we do is we develop those interventions and strategies to increase academic success for our students. We help with conflict resolution and anger management. We also help our students develop those social and emotional skills that they need in order to thrive in the school community. Another big piece of our job is crisis intervention. And we do that on an individual and group counseling.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Sloan. Could you give me like an example of maybe the develop intervention strategies to increase academic success? What does that typically entail?
Sure. Leave or attendance? Sure.
Could be an example or whatever.
Sure. I'll give it to you from an attendance aspect. So one of the things that we do with that student improvement attendance plan is we take a look at the student's strengths, and then we also take a look at some of their weaknesses. We talk about, we put together a plan, in order to increase their grades. So what would that look like? How would we do that? We might help them, we might go, like Joe had talked about, and do an assist to get them up in the morning. We also might say, okay, you're gonna have to stay after for a homework club, or you're gonna have to meet with your teacher, you're gonna have to get some tutoring. So we really take a look, like Alicia said, at that student in the environment, and then we try and provide those, whatever intervention it might be, in order to help that student thrive.
I'll take that as well. I think from the standpoint of social workers, I think the value that they add to districts is the collaborative approach and bringing other people in to support kids. So whether it's the student attendance improvement plan, or it's bringing in the school counselor, it's bringing in teachers, bringing in, what hell was still there, an assistant principal, really all towards the goal of improving a few different metrics, attendance, grades, and the belief that they can do it. So I think a lot of their work is qualitative. You may not see actually quantitative metrics, but the goal would be obviously to re-engage a student who is unfortunately disengaged, and re-engage a family that may be looking for support that they can't access it outside because there's, and I'll go into this when I talk about our direction moving forward, but helping the kids develop some level of confidence with how they're going to approach school.
I think, well, just to also that, like in the attendance plans, because we never know, what we're really getting there is, so we're uncovering more of what's happening. And that's where with our training, being prepared, okay, there's more here than just missing school. There's this that's happening. We need this level of intervention or support for the child to be successful. And that's, again, in that plan, we look at that closely, build on the strengths, but then also try to provide support for any weaknesses. Thanks.
And this goes to
Question.
Yeah.
With providing supports to the student, do you also provide supports for the family?
That's where we are. Yes, we
It wasn't planned.
Yeah, I think without saying the word, I would say just to the previous points is we are working relationally, right? And so our work with families is again meeting them where they're at and inviting them in to a place that might not have been a good experience for them, or a previous student that they had might not have had a good experience, or they're scared. They walk into a meeting that usually has 4 or more adults, and perhaps we're talking about attendance. And so immediately, we know that there are feelings coming into the room. That's our job, right? So we are meeting and connecting with parents about we can understand, right? We're here to understand you. You're the expert of your child. And then we also have these other community resources that might alleviate some of the stress in terms of either getting your kids services for mental health or into school regularly. So that's really what we do with families. And we go out to their homes. We have conversations wherever they're willing to have them. And we really listen. I think we're all really good at that. So.
So yeah, and also providing support to staff. So, we intermingle with the staff walking around. I know I always like to make myself, just present. And then a lot of times, staff will have questions. So they get a better understanding of what's happening without disclosing too much personal information. And ongoing assessment of the student with mental health concerns. Also developing staff in-service training programs, which we'll be having one later this month where we'll focus a little bit more on the homeless population. And then assisting teachers with classroom management. So as we see, maybe there's some behavior issues, supporting the teacher with, hey, does there need to be a break? Maybe I can intervene a little bit, send them down to my office if it's getting, there's a concern, things like that. Short of like something that might be discipline. We're trying to do it more from a supportive role to help.
So the other piece, a big piece of what we're doing on a daily basis or weekly basis is reaching out to the community and being a part of community meetings here in this community, but also countywide. So between the 3 of us, we pick different meetings so that we're all not gone. But county behavioral meeting, suicide task force meeting, children and youth. We have county meetings with children and youth and all the other social workers in the county who are school-based. We each have, there's a Bucks County Homeless Liaison. I'll talk about homelessness in a few minutes. And then our ESSA foster care student meeting and juvenile probation, yeah, and the list goes on and on. And then here we actually have a nice relationship with the Grandpax program. We're really involved with Penridge Fish and are there weekly, along with a really nice group that's called the Hubbub Group, which is helping Upper Bucks be universally better, which focuses specifically, obviously, on Upper Bucks. And how we can increase service providers here, and what the challenges are to this particular community, especially with transportation and access to service. I think as social workers, we need to know where food, shelter, clothing, and crisis mental health are, but we're also on any given day looking for a mattress, trying to find eyeglasses for free. There could be any number of things that come up. I think the advantage for us is that when we're involved in a case, usually people know there's more than one need coming, or there's needs from all directions. So that's why they call us. And, having elementary, middle, and high school social worker, it's nice opportunity to build relationships with each of those buildings. Yeah. So, I'm the McKinney-Vento homeless liaison. Each school district is required to have one. So we all identify homeless students since we're at different levels and we have interactions directly with different students and families. After identification or hearing about a situation, our main goal is to get kids what they need. So sometimes it's that there's a kid sitting out in the community that may have been displaced from a different school district. So what the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act says is that they need to be enrolled immediately without all of the bells and whistles that you need to do when you're usually registering your child. And so we do that through communication with the previous school district, and do our best to get as much information as we can, but get them in a seat as quickly as possible. Because the idea of the act is educational stability and least amount of missed school. Of course, with going on to college and those kinds of things. To your point, we do have some resources when it comes to your point about college. We have worked with the Bucks County Community College on at least more than one occasion in my 20-some years here to get classes for free either after graduation, and I think on one or two occasions during high school. So when a need comes up, we figure out between the three of us, and it's really nice to have three heads working on any given problem, like where do we get the resource? And then if not, we can go back to our county contacts and work with them and say, this is a need that we're seeing more and more. There's a social worker at Quakertown, so between the four of us, we're often the advocates for Upper Bucks. And it's nice because we do have a lot of support. Of course, when it comes to homelessness, I just want to clarify because homelessness is different for students than maybe some of what you might have an idea of homelessness. So for the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act, we really say that there are students without a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, and that occurred from an unplanned event. So stuff like fire, flood, housing mold we've had, but also domestic violence, incarceration of a parent, suddenly hospitalization of a parent, irreconcilable differences at some times. A lot of the students that we have who qualify as McKinney-Vento are couch surfing. Some of them are trying to find temporary places to stay, so they're moving about. And really, again, we're just trying to keep them educated. One safe place to come back to. We do everything, toiletries, food, college, yeah, everything. Everything we can think of, mattresses, we've done several times, eyeglasses, those kinds of things. Also with the homeless population, it can take a long time to recover. So especially in this economic day and age, it takes families years to recover. We have several good recovery programs, but we're seeing those dwindle. And we have some, low-income housing and those kinds of things. So we always try to make the appropriate referrals so that parents can get stable housing.
Just like Alicia had said, she is the McKinney-Vento, and then we also have a foster care liaison, and that is me. One of the big things that we do is we collaborate with children and youth agencies. Actually, it could be across the state, as well as school districts, foster care agencies, and then we work with biological parents as well as foster parents. And again, that could be anywhere in the state. It could be out of state, it could be in state. School placement is important, and we have what's called a best interest determination meeting, or a bid for sure. You'll hear that a lot in the community. That's the where, the why, and the how. And that meeting is really what we are looking at to say, okay, are we going to bring this kid to our district, or were they displaced from our district and they're in another district? What is in their best interest in regards to their education, and how can we make that happen? A really important piece here is transportation. So there's a formal plan that allows for full participation in all activities. So that's a really important piece. We have to actually have transportation set up within 3 days. So that is sometimes there's a lot of barriers with that for us. Immediate enrollment in and record transfers, normal records aren't needed, and immunization plans are acceptable. So oftentimes we're looking for the birth certificates, those immunization records, which sometimes are hard to track down. Sometimes those children and youth agencies don't have them. Sometimes the foster parents have no idea where to get them. So it's pretty intricate, and it takes a lot of time. Again, there's that, it just takes a lot of time.
Okay, so I'm gonna shift a little bit here to one of the things I do at the high school, which is our Upstanders program that has been here as long as I've been here, which this is my 9th year. So it's a peer-led initiative. Students lead efforts to build empathy, teamwork, and responsibility. The Upstanders are our high school students, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So the role is promote standing up for others and challenging harmful behaviors. This, helps create, fosters a good environment, inclusiveness, supportive environment. Key components, peer educator mile, high school students teach younger students. We do the middle school, 7th graders, and then the elementary, 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The high school students are taught by NOVA educators, where they build their own lesson plans and then go out to the schools and present them. Peer educators reinforced knowledge by teaching others, and the kids really look up to the high school kids when they come out to the school. It's a really good experience for both sides. Empowers the students to actively address harmful behaviors, creating safer, more welcoming school spaces, support for well-being, fosters empathy and mutual respect, promotes mental and physical well-being. Building resilience and confidence encourages youth to stand up for themselves and others, encouraging confidence while building social skills, delivers peers for relatability, boosts student engagement, and program effectiveness. And again, the best way for me to describe it is just when I see the kids, and even now the high school kids are like, when are we starting? And we usually start later in October, so we'll be starting soon, and they'll get trained, and then we'll plan our visit to the middle school November, December, and then in the spring we do the elementary schools. So it's really a win-win because we are hitting the high school with the kind of the message, and then certainly hitting the younger grades.
All right, so first I'd like to thank the social workers for this presentation. A lot of what you heard this evening was more reacting to situations, homelessness, kids in foster care, kids and families who aren't attending school. And so when you think about our direction after what you've heard this evening, we've really placed a great emphasis on bolstering programs that provide education and building skills for parents, guardians, students, so that they can support themselves while working within the constraints of the district. So our goal is really to bolster engagement as we move forward, to provide events. If you think about the Transforming Stigma event, which they were a large part of in bringing to the district, year 2 of that, and I think this year was a lot better, not just from a programming standpoint, but the opportunity for parents, guardians, students, and even staff to hear about some of the pressures from student athletes to kids with exploitation and digital media and their digital presence and trying to be safe online, as well as a general presentation about what mental health illness and mental health stigma looks like within a community, within society. So our goal, again, in moving forward is to be, we still have to react to certain things that kids and parents deal with on a daily basis, but to really provide programming that supports what happens before there's a crisis, to lessen the impact of a crisis because they have the skills in order to deal with that. And that's from a community perspective and engagement with counselors, school counselors, teachers, and other staff within the district before it may even get to the level of an administrator. The challenges will continue to be multifaceted, as they described and shared about, again, homeless students, students who are disenfranchised from school. One of the challenges from a mental health standpoint is you could wait for mental health services for anywhere from 6 weeks, 8 weeks, a few months. And so what happens in between that time period where you're waiting that 6, 8, 3-month time span? These folks are the ones you're relying on. So it's taxing on the resources within the district, and you have school counselors that also get involved to support the child. We can't just say, all right, well, we'll wait till counseling starts. And sometimes those counseling interventions don't begin out in the community until a long time. And then you have the medication issue. You have kids who don't have private insurance. So if you don't have private insurance, you may not be able to access certain providers because that's what they're looking for. So there are a lot of challenges that they help to offset within their work. And I'm going to ask Joe to come up here for a second and talk about what walked into his office earlier today.
And we all, we all experience, really things that are, we just don't know each day what's going to happen. And as you can see, Alicia is our veteran. She does a really nice job of, presenting our duties. But today, situation that wasn't planning on was just received a call from one of our students' mother's boyfriends, and the mother had passed away about 2 weeks ago. And he just said, I need this information and this information. And, we're kind of like, well, who are you? And things like that. So we have to kind of adjust and see how we can help, keep the student stabilized, keep coming to school, but then also help the people that are involved. And there's a lot of steps there, like, custody. He's a minor. So we can't just, go out and say, okay, now he's mine. So just making some phone calls there to the county to see, hey, these are the steps you're going to have to take, but it might take a little bit. So what can we do to help you make sure that he's continuing to get his education? And those will be things like when something like that, if I don't have an immediate response, I'm calling on these guys to say, hey, here's what I have. What do you think? And if they were at one of the community meetings, I just heard this. We can contact this person for support if they need anything. So again, that's just today, just happened today. And again, that's each day. I kind of say sometimes my worst days are the days that I don't have too much on my schedule because something comes in and it's like, all right, here's what it is today. So, but it's rarely that we don't have too much on our schedule.
So as we conclude this part of the night, I just want to thank the social workers for their time, their dedication, their commitment. I think we all got a taste for what their jobs entail and what in a moment's notice they can experience. I think the collaborative nature of their work, not only within this district and within the personnel within this district, they also communicate with grassroots organizations. I don't know what Penridge Fish means yet, but
Fellowship in Serving Humanity.
okay, she knows. But the different organizations within this district, I think, speak to the nature of what makes this community special. And Dr. Barrios often talks about this, and even in his, when he first came to the district that he lives in, this district is very special in terms of people helping people. And I don't think that can be overstated. And I think their work within the community and galvanizing organizations to help work with our students is really special. So thank you again. And that concludes us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, yeah. What I'd love to hear is what should we do differently? What can we do better? Ideas of how we can help our kids more with mental health. And we're off to a great start, but you guys see it every day. So we welcome your ideas on what other things we can do to help our kids. So,
Yeah, and that's a great question, I think, and I'll let some of them answer. But I think one of the things that we've started, and again, I mentioned this with year 2 of that Transforming Stigma program, is really offering events that provide education and support for parents and community members. So they're not looking for things, and we're providing in advance of that crisis moment or that situation where we really tap into the resources within the community. I think that's the next big step for us as a social work team, for our school counselors, is to really have a keen understanding of what resources are available to those parents and community members in the event that there's a 2 to 3 month wait for mental health support and services.
I'm a parent in the community. My child actually, my oldest child just entered 9th grade. Previous to that, we were in a very small private school. So I'm having a different picture, right? An inside look. I think the more we can do to invite parents in and feel supported. The mental health nights are one thing, but I think building schools that are welcoming is the ideal place to start. Welcoming from friendly face, come on in, let me help you. Oh, you didn't get that. Here, I'll print it out. I think for me, it's what's happening in the front office that actually really does make the biggest difference to what a parent's experience ends up being. It's the start. So one place I would always, and I think we do a great job of it, honestly. But I think it's so easy to get lost as a parent. What email am I supposed to be reading? How am I supposed to order pictures? Those kinds of things. Technology is a great invention, but is it at the expense of relationship? And again, I think that's why the 3 of us are in this business, is that relationship means a lot. So that would be one of the places I could start.
thanks.
I had a question. First of all, thank you for everything you do. I really appreciated, I don't remember who said it, but the whole premise of helping without judgment. Our students, our children, obviously, they have the least control of their situations most of the time. And so I think it's really important that they feel welcome, feel like they can trust the staff here. So I really appreciate that. I'm surprised we only have 3 social workers. I feel like that's a very small number for how big our district is. What is the average social worker to student ratio?
I don't know about the ratios, but I know that most districts have between 1 and 2. I don't know of anyone
For their whole
that has
district.
6,000 plus students with 3.
Wow.
So I think we're well.
I mean, I guess I know where I'm coming from with this is, if one thing we learned from the whole pandemic is that mental health really impacts our students a lot. And we saw that when they weren't around their friends, when they were home, like students struggling. And I don't feel like we've completely recovered from that yet. I mean, I'm watching everything you guys do, and I honestly don't know how you're doing all of it. That's a lot. And I know that, mental health issues in students is increasing. So even if we don't have I know that. Maybe not specifically like numbers, but maybe it's more a feeling that I feel like I'm hearing more about mental health issues. So I'll clarify that. But what are other ways that we can then bolster, if it's not bringing in more social workers, but there are some districts that have like counselors full-time that even work with students' insurance if they have it, et cetera, so that outside of the social worker role or collaborative with it, but that's the full-time job of that person is just helping our students that might help with some of these gaps potentially and maybe alleviate some things off of your lives too. But
I
just
want
kind
to
of
ask Mr. Johnson to talk about SAP counseling,
Yeah,
some of our outside
thank you.
contracts with Lakeside,
Thank
crisis
you.
counseling, et cetera.
So to Dr. Barrios's point, we do have a contract with certain outside vendors. And I'll start with Lakeside. We have, don't hold me to the number, but I think it's 5.6 because each person may not work a full day. But Lakeside provides a unique service to our students and supporting our staff for students who are either students with IEPs who have a need for counseling. Now, we don't write Lakeside counseling into the service description. It's counseling within the schools. But they provide a service in a short-term capacity. Some students could be half a year, other students could be a year. Some students have it one time per week, others who are a little bit more intense, 2 to twice a week. But that's a service that directly impacts mental health. The challenge is that as schools, you're not mental health institutions.
Right.
You're educational institutions. So there's that delicate balance between providing that service within a school, which is great to have. And I would even say it's unique. We are one of a few schools that has the degree of services to that extent from a mental health standpoint compared to some other districts in the 4-county area. Again, it's a very nice luxury to have that supports our IEP students. It supports in crisis situations. So oftentimes I'll receive suicide risk assessment for students who are expressing some form of suicide ideation. They'll see a crisis counselor, which is a different role than someone who's supporting a student with an IEP. You also have SAP, which is the Student Assistance Program, which I'm sure at least Bradley Merkel-Gump is familiar with being a school person. But they provide services and they work within schools on teams, which social workers are a part of as well. School counselors, there may be an administrator, but this is a team approach to kids who need some level of short-term intervention. They also provide a small group instruction for our students. So if there's a specific topic that the school wants to tackle, they see 6 or 7 students struggling with a particular topic, then they'll bring a group of those students. Parents have to agree to that so they don't work in isolation. Parents would have to sign an agreement to have their child participate in that. So those are 2 of the biggest.
And each
That's good.
elementary school, I think it's worthy to note, has a school counselor,
Right.
guidance counselor assigned, and that you don't see that in every school district.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine too, like, because I'm appreciating that how well staffed we are then in comparison to other districts. But when there was a part of the slide that was around like school climate, and in my head, I'm like, when do you have time to get to school climate stuff? Like I would like even when you're describing your morning, I'd be like, that's probably at least half your day trying to get that answer. And I feel like even school climate could be one person's full-time job. Or, let's talk about body image issues. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Like, so I, for one, am an advocate for helping students with their mental health. And I don't always think you need like a diagnosis to need help with things at times. And as a parent of high schoolers, you know, I've said this in many meetings, I sort of understand their world, but there's more I don't understand about it than I do. And help, even in just tough days, I feel it would be very appreciated, however we can do that. So, thank you, though.
How many students do you all roughly work with in a given
year is it?
Oh.
Yeah.
We kind of, looked at, I looked at some like, a lot of like attendance, those issues, you kind of, track those numbers a little bit. When we, at the high school, I go to the like house meetings, so grade level meetings. So if I go in there and there's an issue, I might, address it right with the school counselor, and then it kind of goes that way. The next week, if it got worse, then I might intervene a little further, so that, then might, turn up on my caseload. Again, it's hard. I want to say each of us, it's probably around like 200 or so students that were like, pretty involved. We know them, we know their family situation, and I'm making like just, regular monitoring. But as far as how many we actually consult with, again, that number is, and sometimes it's like, you say, well, track it, but like, then I'm spending a lot of time. So that's why it's like, all right, I just consulted on 10 kids today in a meeting, but do I go back and take, 45 minutes to document that? Or we just say, hey, this is what we did in the house meeting, and then we come back and talk about it. So it's, again, I hope that
We're the
answers the question.
triage,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
like, we're always triaging, like taking, like we said, like the whole picture and figuring out who can take care of it. So I think that's the nice thing that we bring is like a perspective, is a larger, a macro and micro perspective. And then we can figure out who are the people who can address the problem. Is it the school counselor? Is it staff counseling? Is it, I need to start your application for medical assistance or figure out why your insurance isn't, or Penn Foundation is not kind of rolling with the case. So that's, I think, the advantage to what we do is triage.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that the families that we work with, oftentimes, we are working with them every year. So we're adding each year. And that is what is nice for the continuity of care. So we might have a family, or let's say there's someone in middle school and someone in elementary. We can sort of tag team on those resources, or I'll say, you take this one, I'll be like, Joe, you have, the older brother, and I have the two of the younger siblings, and then we collaborate that way. And then we help to provide those resources to those parents. It's the SAT team, it's the principal meetings, it's the child study teams. We get pulled into, I think, almost every aspect of the school community in school and out of school to be able to support our students and the parents as well, because that's really important. If we can provide resources and skill building to those parents, then we're always going to have those access to those kids. So really, it's a lot of teaching, a lot of providing resources, building those relationships, which are paramount, because if we don't have a relationship with the parents and they don't have buy-in, then we lose the student. So it's,
And I'm on my second generation of kids. Today I had a meeting with a mom I had in high school. My relationship with her then counted for the meeting for her son in third grade now. So, it goes a long way.
Yeah. And you're year round, right?
We don't work full time in the summer,
Okay.
but we do get calls.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, that wraps it up for the Student Services Committee. Our next Student Services Committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 3rd. Next is policy.
Let's make this fast. Any comments? I don't think there are any comments. No, we just pulled the agenda because I can't read. All right. We will commence policy committee. This one into 2021. First up, as always, is the policy update plan. And there's not really a ton to talk about. Most of these are the PSBA updates we're going through. And one thing that Mr. Johnson and I did talk about briefly is the responsible contract. We talked about how to get that rolling again, even if it's just a conversation of next steps. Any comments or questions on the policy update plan? Okay, so what we have are 3 first reads that Mr. Johnson is going to go through, and I know there was an email sent out to the board talking about how we're just going to focus on what changed and what are things that PSBA is asking the school to decide. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. I think this is on. So the first policy that I want to bring your attention to is policy 805, emergency preparedness and response. I think it's worth noting that there was some language within referencing a memorandum of understanding or a MOU. Language about the MOU was deleted under guidelines. However, it was brought forward under delegation of responsibility. So while the language was eliminated under guidelines, they brought it up to delegation of responsibility. And it simply highlights the need to have an MOU with law enforcement.
And we have that, correct?
Yes. The second area I'd like to draw your attention to is the section under continuity of student learning. The important piece of this is that and I'll go there. I want to draw your attention to the section on instructional activities. So it really provides schools with flexibility under emergency situations. So this isn't your standard situation, but under emergency situations, it gives you 3 pre-selected ways that you can incorporate instructional activities into student learning. Web-based instruction, believe it or not, mailing lessons and assignments, and instruction via local television or radio stations. I don't really see any of those. But that's what PSBA recommended. I think we will go with number 1. Yes.
Should we have something in there where some flexibility based on the superintendent?
Well, and that's why they had 4 others. So if,
It's not a blank. It's up.
right,
I don't know if
correct.
that's- if you want that. I mean, I would assume everything can be like what that thing, the interview.
It's actually part of our flexible instructional day.
It fits.
The FID application that we did, we actually had all of those in there. In addition to web-based, you're also required to have something else, and we had that as essentially, stuff that we would have printed out. And for the kids.
That's
So that we could put that as our other.
It should mirror that.
Mhm. Yep.
So we can add that to the.
If we already
There's
have it.
more
I think-
deal.
But I don't think we'll use.
No, we will.
Channel
Is that what
69
you
or-
Channel
printed
60.
for the middles
That'd be
anyway,
the only
for
one.
the elementary, isn't it more printed than,
Yes,
anyway?
Packets.
Okay.
packets.
Right.
The final area within the policy I'll just draw your attention to is under required drills. There are no changes there. However, I just wanted to point out the language in there that PSBA recommends, and it simply states the board directs,
Yeah, they changed it.
which is, right.
Which we do that.
The only final part, which is not a part of the policy, it's connected to the policy. They do attach procedures for safe display. I liken it to administrative regulations, so I think that's what Dr. Barrios, Dr. Palmer, myself, Joe Gallo will review to determine what components of safe display in terms of procedures that we want to adopt and recommend for our purposes.
Would that be part of the policy or would it be
That would
more like?
not,
an
yeah, that would not be
okay.
a part of the policy, more of a regulation.
Okay, just be. So it looks like the only change, well, the only addition we're gonna do is at number 4 there for other, we're gonna add. What are they, FIDs? FIDs?
Flexible instructional days.
FIDs, okay,
Sounds like an illness or something.
yes,
So ours was approved for the next 3 years.
yeah,
Yes.
lovely.
So I'm gonna, without any question, I'm gonna move forward to 805.1, which is relations with law enforcement agencies.
longer police.
Yes, correct. So the memorandum of understanding language has not been changed. One shift though, is that when you file information, it must be filed with PDE as opposed to what was formerly called the Office of Safe Schools. I'm not sure if the Office of Safe Schools exists anymore. The policy also asks, which is consistent with how it was previously written, that the MOU, and this is obvious, comply with state law and regulations. Not sure what it, but that's what was added. The policy also recommends that local law enforcement participate in trainings related to subjects that enhance and build positive relationships with students. And I think the focus and function there is because they want local law enforcement to have familiarity with your schools, your buildings, your kids, which also is just good practice.
Which section?
Under students with disabilities, but then there's a training after that. It's called page 3.
Thinking about it.
And is the policy that we just have to invite them, right? Like there's not an obligation that we have to make sure they attend a minimum number?
Correct.
Okay.
It's district by district. Some districts may have officers in 10 times during the course of the year. And I think from the standpoint of our schools, our local law enforcement work closely with the schools. You can often see them, walking around the campus in a not in a punitive way, but more in a positive way where they're just interacting with students and staff.
I was at an elementary school this afternoon. There was a police car. Police officer got out and walked around the school. That's great.
Any comments about 805.1? And then the final policy for first reading is 805.2. And I will note under authority, if we look at that, the board's role is more clearly delineated under authority. And it includes, unlike the former policy, it includes definitions such as school security personnel. It actually defines a school day, which I found fascinating. And third-party vendor, which we will not be using. Second point, under that policy, it informs us that the superintendent should appoint a school administrator to serve as the school safety and security coordinator. But this is not a change. That was consistent with the former policy,
Which we have.
We are to continue the practice of the school safety and security coordinator making a report to the board at an executive session about the district's current safety and security practices and identify strategies to improve it. It details what they believe should be included in that annual report, which I believe we are doing. The policy further explains the role of a school police officer. You'll see a lot of deletions in there, but what they've done is they've codified that area of a school police officer's role within the school. It made it compliant with the law. And the policy does the same for school security guards. There is an area for a school resource officer, but we don't have that position within the Penridge School District. So that was something that I eliminated because we do not have that position. But school districts that do have that position, they'll have to add that to the language within their policy. And that's it. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
There's the whole section on security guard checks. That's new. School security guards. Yeah, like the second to last page. Yeah. That's all new. Yeah, keep going. There you go. Or is that just replace what was above? Sorry, hold on.
Well, it just defined their role.
Okay.
Whereas before it was really focused on school police.
Okay.
So they added the SRO, they added another element that we don't have, and then school security guards. So it was really all under one umbrella and now they've broken it out,
Okay.
which I think is helpful. Because there is a difference obviously between a school security guard, which isn't going to be, isn't going to have any weapons versus a school police officer.
Any questions or comments on the last policy? So we'll put these up for first read at the next school board meeting. Any public comments? I don't think so. Next policy committee meeting is scheduled for November 3rd.